Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast. I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Keitra Garner Chambers of Style of Business. Keitra, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for allowing me to be on your platform. I'm excited for the interview.
I'm excited as well. You're doing so many phenomenal things. I've definitely been honored to be a guest on your show. So I wanted to read a little bit more about Keitra so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Keitra is the entrepreneur, business consultant, and lifestyle wellness coach. She has 2 decades of public relations experience working with some of the world's leading brands, media personalities, and entertainers. She's a co-founder and former managing director of the AMW Group, and she is currently the host of the Style of Business on Apple Podcasts and is the CEO of High Pursuit Inc. and Style of Business Coaching and Consulting. Also a certified personal trainer, Keetra's deep passion for wellness, vision, and purpose is unveiled in her latest book, Courage is a Muscle. Keitra, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I'm ready. Let's do it. I'm ready.
Let's do it then. So to kind of kick everything off, I wanted to rewind the clock a little bit. Take us through how you got started and what led you to do all the awesome work that you're doing now.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so I initially got started. I called myself I was initially interested in journalism. That's where my primary background is, wanting to be an entertainment journalist. So, you kind of want to go through a different experience of internships to figure out exactly what it is that you want to do. And so through trial and error, I just found I was always ending up on the side of things to where I had to kind of create more opportunities for myself because I would pitch for, articles, and especially being at that age when you're a college senior and you're trying to figure out your way, you don't really know a lot of angles. You're not experienced. So when you're pitching for these different internships and things like that, especially for me who I didn't have like a mentor, you can imagine that I didn't really get the response that I wanted. So I found myself just, kind of trying to create my own opportunities. And I launched the High Pursuit, which is the blog. And I initially started out doing music interviews for artists and things like that. And thankfully, somebody gave me a chance in Dallas to do entertainment journalism for independent publication. They're now out of business, of course. But it's just trying to find my footing. It's always been entertainment and music. I've always had a passion and love for it. And yeah, so initially, like I said, wanted to do entertainment journalism. Ended up on the back end of things, working in the office, and I really got more engaged and interested in doing like the marketing and PR. So here I am, a few years later, you know, and I'm just on this entrepreneurial journey, trying to see where I can best fit and help other people. So that's where I am.
Nice. I definitely appreciate that. And when we talked and when we first initially connected, we connected on that journalism piece because that's something that's at my heart and my core of a lot of things that I do. I feel like I'm still a journalist at heart. But what the phrase that came to me like when you were speaking is I see it so many times and I hear it and I try to tell myself it is sometimes making a way out of no way. And I think that's where the true entrepreneurial comes in, where it's like, okay, well, this lane isn't working, so I'm going to create my own lane this way. And it seems like you've been able to do that and build that in all the awesome work you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, uh, as crazy as it sounds, it was like the more no's that I received, the more you end up getting some sort of nerve. You end up kind of getting the courage to move forward. And I've always had parents and family, and my dear grandmother who really just encouraged us, just to move forward and just make a way. And through that, just kind of making sure that I at least made an effort. That I would try to do whatever it is I was looking to do. And thankfully, it panned out. I mean, in a way, I still consider myself a writer, a journalist, because I do, but it was not in the aspect that I initially anticipated. I thought maybe I would be writing for the source, some
Mm-hmm.
major music publication based off of the opportunities that were currently available. And through the nose, I was able to really see like, okay, you don't really need to be able, I mean, you don't need to have that major backing in order for you to pursue the things that you're interested in. So it's, it worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so funny that you say that because when we talk too about the industry as a whole and just how the industry is completely different, and it'll probably be even more different, 5 years down the line from what it is now. But we're starting to see that people have their own voices and are able to do that and to build, their expertise, their insight, and still, tap into those skills that are needed as a journalist, but still create those own platforms. So I love that you've been able to kind of do and build that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, trial and error. It's a work in progress, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when things change, we definitely need that entrepreneurial spirit and that mentality to be able to know that we can shift and change and create that own lane, as we kind of talked about. So I know when I read your bio, you touched on as well too, everything that you're working on now. Could you take us through your blog, your book, and your podcast, and all the awesome work that you're doing?
Yeah, I would love to. So as you know, I initially started my career with AMW Group, which originated in Europe, and opportunity to really learn, to really perfect my expertise as far as marketing and PR is concerned. And then in 2017, when you do things for so long, you just kind of get that itch to, sometimes it's just it's time to kind of step out and to step away from the typical run of the mill and routine. And so in 2007, I just decided that I really enjoyed more of a smaller scale, like consulting, like one on ones, and just trying to teach people. And so I started the Style of Business, which is the consulting and marketing, which that's the goal, is to teach people how to run their own PR campaigns. And in addition to that, I found myself doing the podcast, which uh, the podcast initially started out as a music podcast because I was DJing at the time, and so I really enjoyed music mixes. And then over the course of maybe a couple of years, it ended up evolving into where what you see now, where I go and share other entrepreneurial stories and small business owners and things like that that come in and share tips and resources. So that's the podcast, Dollar Business SOB, the podcast, and High Pursuit, which is, like I said, I launched that years ago, straight out of college, just wanting to really create a lane for myself. And it has taken many shapes and forms. It has turned, it has twisted, whatever you think, whatever you can think of, I've done it just to be able to find that voice. And I really feel like where I am now with it, I'm really wanting to create that space for people to come and to be inspired, to be inspired and know that they can. And then, of course, the with that, it all ties back into everything that I'm doing because the podcast, of course, is inspirational for other people, aspiring entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs like you and myself. And then the consulting and things like that is just really trying to show people that they can do it. And then High Pursuit, just another hub for inspiration. So all of it ties in. And the book, Courage is a Muscle, that is, another piece of content that I'm proud of because it's self-published and it's something that I worked years to get completed. And I felt like when I started that project, I was just, how you're in the zone, right? Have you ever been in a zone to where you wanting to get the work done?
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up with that project, and I kept wanting to hold it. You know how you just want to hold it and say, okay, well, it's not ready, it's not ready. But then when I realized that the information that I shared was something not for me, of course, it was an outlet for me through the writing, but I knew that that information would be good for other people who were trying to find their voice. And that's the hub. That's what the book is about, like my own personal entrepreneur journey. So self-published that, I could have done some things better, but the process of doing it, doing it yourself is really what made a difference. So that's pretty much where I'm at.
Absolutely. I love that. And not only, I feel like sometimes we forget that the process is also the gift, but I love how you said so well that so many times we think that the things that we create and the things that we do, the gifts that we have are for us, but so many times they're for so many other people. So I love that that was a realization, for the book. But I think, as you said so well, just that motivation, and in the podcast and the services that you provide, in the kind of the how tos as well too, and that insight that you do with the consulting, it allows people to not just be inspired and be aware, but also know how they can do it themselves. And I think that's so huge because we all have gifts that we were given that will benefit the world. And if we use our muscles, especially those courage muscles, to get those things out, then that allows really the world to be a better place as a whole.
Hey, you got to do it. Like I'm telling you, even right now, like some of the things that I'm doing, and I just participated in a panel discussion last night as to where, maybe a couple of years ago, I probably would have passed, and it's just sometimes you just got to realize that when people say you need to step out of your comfort zone and you need to really focus on doing things differently in order to see a different result, you got to take that into account because any change is going to take for you to actually change your action. And so I've just been volunteering and putting myself out there a little bit more because I know the vision that I have. And it's not until I really started to incorporate that and try to see where I could best suit other people that things started to come together. And I'm in a good space to where I'm not anxious for the result, but I'm more so enjoying the journey of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like I said, a lot of times that's the true gift. And if, especially if you understand you're in the right lane, you're in your own lane, maybe even a better way, you know that you can, enjoy that process.
Yeah, makes a difference. Yep.
And so I wanted to ask you for what I call your secret sauce. So this could be for you personally or your businesses or a combination of both. But what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
Secret sauce. I through my experience, my own personal experience, I found that when you just be who you are, when you be good with what you're doing. We can't being in a race and trying to compete. That's really when things kind of turn into a disaster for me. I just stopped trying to keep up. I really
Mm,
honestly just stopped trying to keep up with what other people are doing. I work hard to mind my business and to keep my head focused on what it is that I'm trying to create. And that's pretty much it. Just trying to maintain my own sense of balance, um, and just being off to myself to where I can stay focused and not be disrupted and distracted by too many things. Of course, I do consider myself like I'm not antisocial, like anti people, but I know for me it's best for me to just stay in my lane and to really capitalize off the things that I bring to the table as far as creativity and anything else is concerned. Like I know where I excel and I know where I need to take a step back.
yeah, and that's extremely powerful. I almost feel like the best knowledge you can have is knowledge of self, and to really accept that and lean into that is like even taking it to another level. And you mentioned that as your secret sauce is so huge because I think so many times we don't realize that we're sometimes influenced by the people that are around us, the things that they're doing, or advice that everybody has about you doing X, Y, and Z. But if you understand like where your mission is, you understand who you are, where your strengths are, you're able to lean more into that and you're able to, I think, also feel at peace. It sounds like so because you're not trying to be somebody else or do something else that's not in your lane.
Yeah. No, that I tell you what, you can try it from personal experience. When you try to keep like it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and it's not until you see the pitfalls of trying to replicate somebody else or somebody else's success or journey that you realize you can only bring to the table the gifts that you have, the talents that you have, the resources that you have. And I think we fall into the trap of not understanding that what we are already built with is enough. We
Mm.
try to. I mean, you can call it what you want, but I try to just really be mindful of that. Like when I find myself, trying to find out or trying to know what, I'm not saying don't be aware of what's going on around you or what other people are bringing, especially when it's specific to your industry, but just know that you do have the power to bring your own creative aspects or, your own talents to the table as well.
Yeah, and that's so powerful what you just said, as well as like, having enough. I think so many times a lot of things are kind of pulling us and telling us that we're not enough or we need this or we need that. But that peace that comes with knowing that you have enough and that you can continue to get better at what you have enough of, but it's not about you being somebody else or doing something else a lot of the time. Sometimes it's just about you leaning more into who you are, your strengths, and then kind of growing from there.
Yeah, you got to do that. If we're trying to bring a cake, like a baker cake, I can't bring the milk or the eggs and the ingredients. You
Mhm.
bring in the same ingredients, and
Yes.
you got Tanya over here who's bringing the oil, and you got three other people bringing the same ingredient. Like we need a mixture. I think everybody, like if you understand that you bring your own creative aspects, your own mixture to the table, that's when you can relax because think about it. If we're all running the same circle and we're all doing the same thing, we're all, kind of contributing the same information, it doesn't really help anybody to grow. And that's when we fail as a whole, really.
Absolutely. The saying is be yourself because everybody else is already taken. So absolutely love that. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Oh man, I consume a lot of podcast content just to try to get, and it's not so more industry wise as it is more inspirational. Like just trying to figure out what makes a person um, more productive when it comes to just the mental part of it, right?
Mm.
Because once you get your mindset situated, you know what you're focused on, then you can be efficient, then you can work. So for me, it's just kind of consuming the right types of content. Like I know what I'm looking for, and not only that, but there are different books. Like I really enjoyed Contagious. I forgot the guy who wrote it, but that's a great book. Napoleon Hill, you can never get too much of that.
Mhm.
And there's other things that I do just to really disconnect and to really be able to refresh myself. I'm not, meditation, of course, is something by default. But as far as being productive and what I do is just pretty much making sure that my mind is not cluttered and that I have a sense of clarity. So the go to for me is definitely podcast. Anything that's going to uplift, inspire, and motivate, and just select books that people recommend and things like that.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. And I think that we don't realize the environment that we create, in our minds, but definitely around us. But as you said so well, like what we're putting in, what we're listening to, podcasts, what we're reading, books like, Napoleon Hill and Contagion and kind of things that we're doing, that we're looking to, they basically create our life to some degree because they get into our mind and it starts to manifest itself in the things you say about yourself, the things you do in so many different ways. So to be very aware of those things is absolutely huge because you're basically creating your life without even sometimes knowing it.
You're right, and I'll tell you what, like before I really started to take it seriously, because years ago I kind of already like I am a really strong believer in manifestation and all of that good stuff. Um, but I know for a fact that it's not until you make a decision that you are going to be conscious and you're going to be mindful and you're going to be purposeful about the type of environments and situations, that's when things start to change. But I think we get so wrapped up in just going the default setting because it's easy. We don't have to pay
Mhm.
attention. We don't have to do no programming. We just get up and go. Hey, Grace, you ain't got to go hit the gym. You ain't been going. Just take it easy. We don't have to do it. So when you kind of connect with yourself and you say, okay, hey, we're gonna do something different, and then you work to program. Like even with me, I'm still in the process of trying to develop better habits in certain areas of my life to where it's not overnight fix. It's something that you have to do gradually, and then you kind of level up, and then you level up, and you just keep going until you take on that new characteristics. But you have to decide to do it, and that's where the power really is within you.
Yeah, I absolutely love that, being able to kind of, make that decision. And I love that phrase, level up, because I think so many times we don't realize that whatever got you to where you are now, more than likely won't get you to where you're hoping to be. And you have to reprogram yourself. You have to adjust. You have to change. You have to start going to the gym, if that's what your vision is. So when you start to make those changes, you'll reach another level and you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable to get out of that comfort zone, to go to that next level and so on and so forth. But I think if we tap into that, we are comfortable being uncomfortable, I guess you can say, then that's really where you start to have a little bit more peace and you get to understand that, hey, this is a process, this is a journey. I'm going to continue to take steps along the journey along the path towards that destination.
Yeah, no, I agree. When you put yourself out there, like I have this funny thing that I kind of remind myself of, like when I volunteer and when I participate in these things that your old mind tells you like you don't have no business,
Hmm.
being in there, or whatever. But when I noticed when I started forcing myself more, the easier it gets, of course. And even like after, you have those old flashbacks to say, okay, hey, you did terrible. Like, you're horrible. That didn't work out for you. And I'm like, hey, I'm here though. I didn't die. It didn't kill me. So once you start to
Hmm.
really realize and put yourself in those positions, like they say, the less scarier it gets, and you get more comfortable, and then you find something else, and you just keep going and progressing from there. So yeah, I agree with you. It's
Yeah,
definitely a way to do it.
yeah, I absolutely love that. And I was going to ask you if that would be what I call your CEO nugget, which is kind of like a word of wisdom or piece of advice. Is it that kind of understanding that just like that's why I love the title of your book, Courage is a Muscle, because I think so many times we think courage is something that you're born with, but it's just like a muscle where you continue to have to work that out. You continue to have to be okay with being uncomfortable and being maybe having that imposter syndrome, but still continue to kind of take those actions and work that out. Is that what you would consider to be like a really good word of a piece of advice?
Yeah. I mean, you definitely got to do it. Courage is the muscle for sure. Like even now, there's things that I struggle with, and but I think I've gotten really good at realizing that if I don't put myself in the positions to move forward, then it really just keeps me where I am. So I
Mhm.
just kind of keep remembering that. Like when somebody, hey, you want to do this? It's out of the comfort zone. It's way left field. I'm right here. I'm comfortable. I'm good. But you're asking me to stretch way over here, and it's not until like I think, okay, well, hey girl, we stay here, we're gonna be good maybe for the next 2 months or the next 2 years, hey, but if that's what you want to do, and then it's like, nah, you gotta go. And when it's something that's for you, because you just feel like, okay, this is an opportunity that may lead to something else. It may not coming from a place of fear. And if it is, that's when I know, like, hey, yeah, you need to say yes and you need to move forward. So I've been working at muscle, and it's definitely something that you got to just continue to.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I think you said it so well that so many times we don't realize that it's something that we can work out on a regular basis and continue to get better. And I think once we do that, it becomes a little bit easier and easier to do it. But at the same time, we have to make that decision, as you said so well, to make that happen. So absolutely appreciate that nugget. And so I wanted to ask you now for what I call my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. We're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So, Keisha, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Oh my God. It means being the person that is, I mean, of course, you are the leader of your company, and, whatever it is you're guiding your people towards, you're the go-to person. So I think with me, it's just more of being responsible and just being a person who is open and communicating with the people that you work with, your collaborators or whoever it is. But to me, I mean, it's not all fun and games. It's work, and I think being a CEO means that you are dedicated to whatever the job is, the position, and you're just working to build other people up and pull them up as well. So that's what I've experienced.
Nice. I love that definition and I love that work piece because to me, it brings up like what we talked about before that, kind of, I don't know if I would say loving the process because all the times it's not always the sunshine and rainbows that we always think it is. But I think being able to kind of balance between those things is so huge and understand that if we have a strong vision, if we know where we want to be, if we want to see our team members, our clients, our podcast listeners at a certain place, to be able to kind of roll up the sleeves and get into that work to make sure that happens is absolutely huge. So I love that perspective and definition.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and you gotta be ready for anything.
Hmm. Absolutely. So, Keitra, truly appreciate that definition. I appreciate your time even more. What I want to do is just pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you, subscribe to the podcast, get a copy of the book, and hear about all the awesome things you're doing.
All right, let's go. Let's go. All right. So I think we covered it all, but I would love to connect with anybody who is interested. You can find me at Keetra, Keetr dot. I'm spelling my name and figuring out that it's a website. So it's Keetra, Keetr uh, TRIA.com, directly. That's the website to me. And also my social media handles are all at Keetra, Keetria. Like I said, the podcast, would love for you guys to subscribe, check me out. Style of Business. It is on Apple Podcast and pretty much everywhere else. And of course, the PR consulting and marketing. If anybody is interested and needs some help with putting together your campaigns, would love to connect. And that is styleofbusiness.co, .co, not com, .co. And last but not least, my book, Courage is a Muscle, that is currently available on Amazon. And you can also get more information on it on my website, which is keetra.com.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much again, Keitra. We will have the links and information in the show notes as well too, so that everybody can follow up with you. But I appreciate all the awesome work you do, all the time you took today, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Gresh. You take care.